Standard operating procedures, the secret to scaling with ease. If you've ever wanted to scale, if you want to grow your business beyond you and your team doing everything yourself, you need standard operating procedures. Let me tell you what they are, how they work, why you need them, how you set them up. It's not as difficult as you think. And let me talk to you about the apple pie method. Right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm Yvonne of Amaze Yourself, and we help agency owners to get more clients. We do so by making sure that you improve your current client acquisition systems. We introduce new ways to get more clients, and we help you to scale your operations so you can finally hit the next revenue level. If you do not grow your business by 30%, we don't get paid, guaranteed. So this is what I'm talking about with you today, standard operating procedures or SOPs. And I don't know about you, but I always hear a lot about it, and I always hear a lot of people doing very difficult about processes, process mapping, process flows, and all the lights. Now, I would like to demystify this once and for all with you today and talk about everything you need to know with respect to standardization and SOPs. What is a standard operating procedure? Basically, it is a way to describe how things are best done. It is describing the process in how you do something, okay? Now, you may think, why would I need to describe how I do something? Well, first of all, you need to describe how you do something so people know how to do it when you can't do it. Or people know how to do it when you're not there, and people know how to do it in the best and most effective and most efficient way possible, and in the way you and your business want to do it. So basically, we have all things that we can standardize. We have all methods that we standardize. And let me give you a very simple example. Brushing your teeth. Normally, everybody does it, at least in the morning, at least at night, right? So how does brushing your teeth work, and why would I need to explain it to you? Because everybody gets it. But when you have smaller children and they need to learn to brush their teeth, you show them, okay? You show them the process. The process is you take your toothbrush, you keep your toothbrush horizontal, you take your toothpaste, and here we go already. I forgot to take off the lid of the toothpaste, which you normally do before. So I put the toothbrush down, take the lid off the toothpaste, pick up the toothbrush, keep it horizontal, squeeze the toothpaste, put the toothpaste down, and brush my teeth. And then you can even talk about how you brush your teeth, you know, how you need to keep your toothbrush. It needs to be in a certain angle. It needs to be 15 seconds per teeth, 2 minutes in total. That's how you brush your teeth. Now you may think, what a weird example. Unless you're a dentist, toothbrushing is not something that we use in our daily business. And the thing is, if something is very commonly used, you normally don't set standard operating procedures for those. For example, if someone works in your business and email is a tool that you use in your business, and I think most companies use email, you're not gonna get a standard operating procedure for email, okay? Because that is so self-explanatory. But what you do want a standard operating procedure for is the email and the process you have when you onboard a new client, where email is a part of. And what you want to do is you want to set up a standard email so that actually everybody uses the same email when you welcome people, right? So standard operating procedures ask yourself, what are the same things we all do in our business again and again, and there might be different versions from it. So, onboarding clients, how do you do it? How does your acquisition team do it? How does your internal operations team do it? How does the delivery guy do it? Okay. If there are different ways, that means there is no consistency in your business and things aren't going well. So how do you start with a standard operating procedure? Now, let me map this out for you. And I love the method. Let me see whether I can share my screen so I can talk to you about it. Right. Okay. So I've got a Word document here. Okay. Standard operating procedures. So what do? You normally start with a workshop where you invite everyone involved in the process. Okay. And I mean everyone. So including vendors, including team, including process holder. Okay. Then what you do is you take out a brown paper, you take out Post-its, and you take out markers. What you then start to do is you start to write down all the steps on Post-it notes. Okay, so you ask everybody who's there, what are all the steps? And you will see that there's already a discrepancy between what people say. One will say there are 10 steps, the other will say there are 15, the other will say there are 5. Map them all down. Okay, then you're going to ask about the sequence. What is the order of the steps? Okay, so basically what comes first, what next, and next, and next, and what's the last step? And then also, how do you make sure it's done well? Okay. Which is a question for later on. Once you know the sequence, what you do is you map out the order of the process on the brown paper. So you stick step 1, step 2, step 3 with sticky notes. Stick the Post-its on the brown paper. Okay. Now, there is a reason why you do this with everybody involved. First, it's just doing it. Okay. I'm gonna take one. Oh, edits, undo. Take this one out for now. Because everybody, like I already said, some said 15 steps, some said 10, some said 5. So what you're going to do then is you get in agreement about the most efficient way and effective way to go through the process. Meaning, take as little steps as possible. Okay. But include all necessary from a client's perspective and for risk mitigation. If you ever work with Lean, if you ever heard of Lean, which is a method that has been designed by Toyota back in the when there was a Great Depression, it's what Toyota made survive, actually, how they compete with Ford. But Lean means that you really cut out everything that hasn't added value for the client, unless it is necessary for your own risk mitigation. Okay. So for example, if you are working with hazardous goods, it might really need for people to dress so that they can't get hurt. Is that added value in view of the client? No, but it is a necessary risk mitigation. Okay, so you get in agreement about the most effective and efficient way to go through the process. Now, what you will see is when you discuss this with all the stakeholders, is that you can map out the bottlenecks. All right. And stockpile up. What I mean by that, so for example, there are 3 people working together. So that's the whole process. One person is always busy. So everything waits for a long time for him to agree before it can move on. Then that person is a bottleneck. All right. And a bottleneck, obviously, you want to avoid, you want to rearrange, you don't want bottlenecks. The other thing you don't want is a pile up of stock. If you have physical products, or even if you have non-physical products, it's very often a consequence of somebody being a bottleneck, is that you don't want the stock to be piled up there. You want it to go quick, 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 quick. But again, it is an indication that something needs to change, right? That something isn't right. So really make sure that you know what's not going well and how to mitigate it. So you first map it and then you mitigate the bottlenecks and the stock piled up. Okay. This may mean altering the process. Now, if you really want to make it right, is what you do is you have now mapped it out with the post-its. You also include who's responsible for which step. And what you can also do is not just responsible, but you use a RACI. And I don't know whether you've ever heard of a RACI, but a RACI is who's responsible, who is accountable, who needs to be consulted, and who needs to be informed. You can do that for each step. Okay? Which always makes sure that, for example, when you're onboarding a new client and your sales team and your operations team work together, but you still want to be held in the loop that there's a new client, you get to be informed. Okay? Who is responsible, you determine. But that's a very, very important thing. So now you have all the post-it notes, you have the signs. Remember, sometimes there's like, okay, there's a little loop because sometimes there needs to be an okay before they can go on, and that's their waiting moment. Now, if you really want to make it even better, include the time frame. So indicate for each step how long it takes you and how long the overall walk through time is. If you've ever worked in process optimization, this is very often an indication whether a process is going well or isn't going well. If it takes you 3 months to onboard a client, the process isn't going well. If it takes you a whole day, it again could not be a good sign. If it takes you a couple of hours, that would be great, but maybe the aim is to do it in 1 hour. So also compare or set KPIs for the walkthrough time. That's basically the next step, right? And check the process to see whether it is quick enough or needs to be altered. Okay. Now we have all the steps. We have who's responsible, who needs to do what, right? We have the time per step, and we know where bottlenecks were, and we've actually mapped those out. So all good. Oh, I want it all black. So all good, no more bottlenecks, everything is sorted. We know how long it is, we've revamped it, so nothing takes longer, and it's all working, okay? Now, great, we have a SOP. Now what? What you do now is it's basically next phase, right? You will share share the SOP with everyone in the agency plus all stakeholders. Inform and make, so that's the one. Then the second one is make this the new norm. And don't forget, this is quite important because people are very, very set in their ways and they will do everything not to follow the process, but just keep doing what they're doing. But you're doing this so that everybody does the same. You're doing this because this is the most effective and most efficient. It's the most quick. So you want people to really commit to the new norm. Then you're testing it. You're working with it. So work with the process. What you need to do though, secular times to reassess the process. Okay, can it be quicker? Can it be better? What have we missed? Where are the bottlenecks? How do we build in a feedback loop, making sure it keeps working? All right, and basically we say what can be quicker, what can be better, what have we missed, where are the bottlenecks, how do we build in a feedback loop, making sure it keeps working. If you do this on a continuous basis, you will have a continuing learning organization that works according to standards, where everybody embraces that standards, but all people are also invited to, for example, invite people to gather feedback and share on specific moments, right? This will actually make things a lot better. It will make things, quote, quicker. It will make sure that people are all on the same page, and you get people continuously on the same page because you have certain moments where you check in and where you see whether it's all working. This is just an example of how a standard operating procedure comes together. You need to make sure that, I would say here, capture this in a manual, okay? And if need be, because that's depending on, make sure everyone gets trained. Don't assume that it's just self-explanatory because you have mapped out all the steps. Everybody needs to know, so you need to train people, you need to inform them. Why do you do it? How does it work? When do you do it? What's expected of them? And what are the results, right? So what do you say in the training? Why do we do this? What is it? How does it work? What is expected of me? How does it contribute to our success, right, as a company? And what is the expected results? When plus where can I share valuable feedback on the process? Right? These are the things you need to explain to people. All right, so standard operating procedures. It is good. It's not easy, but it is simple and it helps so much in scaling your business. I really, really encourage you to set up standard operating procedures for all the steps that you do on a recurring basis, all the steps within your organization that people need to take. And it is really, really an amazing tool to get your business to grow, to get more clients in, and to make more money. And if you need any help with that, reach out, because we guarantee a 30% increase in revenue, or you get your money back.